It was a Friday afternoon. My son and his family were heading off on a weekend road trip. Just before they left, my grandson clung to me, pouting as he pleaded for me to take good care of his cat. I chuckled and reassured him. Go have fun. I'll make sure everything's fine. After refilling the cat's food and cleaning out the litter box, a gust of wind sent a fine layer of dust swirling off the countertop. I sighed, picked up a cloth and started wiping it down. The photo album sat on the coffee table in the living room. I flipped it open absent-mindedly, expecting to see pictures of my grandson. But it wasn't his photo collection. It looked more like a travel journal. The backgrounds in each photo varied. Mountains, islands, vast grasslands, endless deserts. But the two people in them remained the same. A man and a woman, silver-haired yet full of life, stood together in every frame, holding each other close, their smiles vibrant and unburdened. From Switzerland to sun-drenched beaches, from rolling plains to boundless deserts. Through all 4 seasons across the country. My fingers trembled so badly I nearly dropped the album. The most recent photo showed them standing before a waterfall, cascading from the clouds in a sheer ribbon of white. Their fingers were interlocked, one in a blue shirt, the other in a matching blue dress. The rugged cliffs and misty gorge behind them only made them seem more ethereal, as though untouched by time. Despite the fine lines etched across their faces, they still looked like a perfect pair. On the back of the photo, a handwritten note read, Damon and Alice, September 2023. I knew that handwriting. It was Damon's. My husband of nearly 40 years. And Alice, his first love, the one he had never been able to have as his wife. I remember that blue shirt. Last September, before Damon left for an out-of-town seminar, I had personally ironed each of his shirts, making sure they were crisp and neat, including this one. I flipped through more pages. Each photo had a date, one for every year, an unbroken timeline stretching back decades. Occasionally there were handwritten notes on the back, lines of poetry, fleeting thoughts scribbled in Damon's unmistakable script. I turned the pages faster, my vision blurring. The oldest photo, buried at the bottom, had yellowed with time, the years pressing down on it like a tangible weight. The two of them looked so young. A snow-capped mountain loomed behind them. On the back he had written, If one day we stand in the snow together, then in this life, we have already grown old side by side. Damon and Alice, November 2005. The ink had faded, but the strokes were still bold, strong, like a blade slicing through water. Yes, from youth to old age, from dark hair to silver strands, how could they not be considered lifelong companions? And yet how absurd. My husband, Damon, 65 years old, a highly respected medical scholar, had spent an entire month every year not at academic conferences, but traveling the world with his first love. From the age of 40 to 65. A fire ignited inside my chest, searing through my organs, burning so fiercely it hurt to breathe. And yet at the same time, it felt as if a gust of freezing wind had blown through me, rendering my limbs numb and my eyes too heavy to keep open. I wanted to call Damon right then and there, to demand an explanation, to force him to tell me why. Why had he hidden this from me for 25 years? But as soon as I reached for my phone, my strength abandoned me. My fingers turned ice cold and tears spilled onto the floor like a broken string of pearls. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, and the world was suddenly cast into shadow. I sank onto the floor, staring blankly ahead. I couldn't wrap my mind around it. How had my life turned out like this? The night deepened. Damon called multiple times, urging me to come home. I slid the photo album into my bag and set off, walking slowly. A 10-minute journey stretched into half an hour. When I finally arrived, Damon was seated at his desk, focused on his work, typing out a report with the same unwavering concentration he had always possessed. Even in old age, his posture remained straight, his movements deliberate and precise. Seeing me, he glanced up. What took you so long? What were you so busy with? Dinner's not ready yet. I looked at the empty dining table, at the cold and lifeless kitchen. And suddenly I laughed. If I don't cook, will you never think to do it yourself? He raised an eyebrow, surprised. What's gotten into you? Bad mood? Did our son upset you again? If you're not feeling up to it, we can eat out. I'll make a reservation. He closed his laptop and walked toward the entryway to change his shoes. Actually, I have to leave town again next week. You'll have to hold down the fort here alone. He glanced at me. Come on, no need to cook tonight. Let's go. I watched him, the familiar features, the gentle expression. Age had left its mark on him, but his eyes were still warm, still the same as they had always been. And then I asked, "Can you not go?" He stopped, looking at me in surprise. "What?" My voice trembled. "I mean, don't go. Not just this time. From now on. No more trips." His brows furrowed. "What are you talking about? This is my job. You know that. Professors at my level are expected to travel for lectures. You're 65, Damon." My voice was barely above a whisper. "And are you really just going to give lectures? You don't have to go anymore. You know that." He stilled, studying me with a strange expression. "What exactly are you trying to say?" His voice held a note of disbelief. "Are you accusing me of something? My work trips are public knowledge. You see the reports, don't you?" Yes, every year whenever Damon traveled for academic conferences, there were always news articles covering his seminars. That was why, for 25 years, I had never doubted him. I had always thought, he's already so busy, so exhausted. The least I could do was take care of things at home, make sure he had nothing to worry about. That's what marriage was, wasn't it? Supporting each other. Damon and I had never had a grand, earth-shattering romance. But we had treated each other with respect, with quiet companionship. In 40 years of marriage we had never even had a serious argument. I had thought, that was love too. I looked up and met his gaze, seeing the irritation and anger flash in his eyes. For a moment, a wave of disappointment crashed over me. I slowly pulled the album from my bag and said, "Damon, is this what you find amusing?" His eyes widened in shock, and in a split second he snatched the album from my hands, his voice rising sharply. "You're going through my things? Julia, after all these years, this is what you've become? I can't believe you're like this." He was flustered, his tone defensive. "Alice and I, sure, we had some feelings when we were young. But now we're just old classmates catching up. Doesn't everyone have the right to reminisce about their youth? And what do you think we're capable of at our age? Julia, you're being completely unreasonable." I had seen Damon's back countless times over the years. The young man in his white coat stepping into the operating room, the late nights spent hunched over his desk writing reports, each of them a familiar, etched image. But now the last thing I saw was him storming out the door, his back stiff with anger. A cold, hollow feeling gnawed at my insides. I realized then for the first time that Damon and I were in the middle of a silent war. That night he returned very late. The house was quiet, the dining table still, the lights dim. Without a word, he slammed the door to his study. For the next few days I stopped cooking and washing his clothes. The dining table was set for one, only my meal. He went about his day in silence, leaving early and returning late. His dirty laundry piled up in a basket, and the once neatly folded shirts were now thrown in, wrinkled and neglected. When my son's family returned from their trip, they came by to have dinner with me. "Grandma, look, this is the gift I brought back for you. It's for you and Grandpa." My 7-year-old grandson, Neil, cheerfully handed me the gift. I smiled faintly, ruffling his hair. "Thank you, my dear." "Neil, finish your meal and go play in your room," my daughter-in-law Monica gently suggested, then turned to me with a tentative voice. "Julia, how have you and Damon been? Is everything okay?" I lowered my gaze, my fork moving mechanically through my food. My son Lucas couldn't hold back any longer. "Mom, what's going on with you?" His voice held clear frustration. "Yeah, that album was left at our house on purpose," he continued, not realizing the sting in his words. "It was to keep you from getting upset when you saw it. You're really making a big deal out of this. You're so old, Mom. Why care about something like this? Dad's done so much for our family and now he's older. Looking back on the past is just natural. I've met Alice. She's reasonable and understanding. They're just reminiscing. Why do you have to be so hard on them?" His voice droned on, but I remained silent. Between his rants, I quietly picked up his favorite dish and poured it into the trash. Lucas stared at me wide-eyed in disbelief. "Mom, are you crazy? What are you doing?" Monica quietly tugged at his sleeve, but he was fuming now. He slammed his utensils onto the table. "Fine. If you won't even let me eat, then don't bother coming to me ever again. I don't need you to come around and try to look after us or else." He stormed out, dragging Monica and Neil with him. Neil, still in his room reading, was yanked along abruptly, his eyes welling up with tears. In that moment I couldn't help but think of Lucas when he was Neil's age, how he would lift his little face to mine, promising to buy me the best things in the world when he grew up. How people change. Even the children you raise with your own hands. When Lucas was small, Damon had been so consumed with work that it was me who took care of him day in and day out. Back then I was the one he loved most, the one he turned to. Now that his father had reached the peak of his career, able to protect him and pave the way for his future, I was no longer the center of his world. In the dead of night I went to the bathroom and saw Damon crouching in front of the washing machine, staring blankly at the buttons as if he couldn't figure them out. He looked up at me, his lips parted but words unspoken. I turned to head back to my room but he called after me, his voice thick with unspoken frustration. "Talia, my clothes are dirty. I have no clean clothes to wear." I shook my head, walked over and pressed the button to start the washing machine. The water began to flow. "I'm sorry, Julia. I've lied to you all these years. It's my fault." His voice was small now, the weight of his confession bearing down on him. "But you have to believe me, I never wanted to destroy our family." I looked at him for a long time, my breath escaping in a soft sigh. Maybe we should separate." He snapped his head up, his eyes cloudy, filled with a strange, bitter light. After that confrontation with Damon, I felt as if a knot in my chest had finally loosened. The fog that had clouded my mind lifted, leaving me startlingly clear-headed. Damon and I were 5 years apart in age, introduced through mutual friends. Back then he was a freshly graduated medical student and I was just an ordinary office worker. I knew he had been in a 3-year relationship during college, one that had ended abruptly when the woman's parents opposed their union. When he told me about Alice, he laid everything bare. His past, their love, and their separation. He said it was all behind him, that he was ready to move forward. I believed him. I nodded, and together we stepped into marriage. That was 40 years ago. When Damon was still a medical intern, nearly all his time was consumed by work. He had to assist in surgeries, collect research data, take on clinical shifts, and endure endless overnight duties. That meant everything else fell on my shoulders. His salary was meager then, and I didn't dare quit my job. I worked during the day and at night I cared for both our young child and his ailing mother. Even in her final days, it was me who sat by her bedside, holding her hand, witnessing her last breath. I still remember the moment Damon rushed home from the hospital, his hands trembling as he grasped mine. "Julia, I don't know what I would do without you." Later, when his career started gaining momentum, life gradually became easier. I thought that was it, the hardships behind us, a future of steady companionship ahead. But in the year I turned 60 and Damon 65, we finally reached the end of the road. Before I retired, I was an accountant. I had spent my entire life sorting through numbers, reconciling endless accounts. And yet, in the end, the last balance sheet I ever managed was the division of assets from my 40-year marriage. I moved into a small apartment I owned, leaving the divorce papers for Damon. He held that thin sheet of paper for a long time, saying nothing. I told him, "It's okay. I'll give you a month. Think it over." As I packed, I threw away so many old things. Things I had clung to for decades but never truly needed. And the moment they landed in the trash, I felt an unexpected sense of liberation. When Lucas found out I had filed for divorce, he flooded my phone with dozens of messages. Every single one blamed me for being impulsive, selfish, irresponsible. I ignored them all. Perhaps my decision had shaken him too much. After I moved out, not once did he come to see me. For the first time in 60 years, I had vast, open stretches of time to myself. After 2 days of rest, I booked a flight to Hawaii and spent an entire month by the ocean, letting the sea breeze carry away the remnants of my past. Without the need to budget every penny, I discovered something new. Traveling, when done freely, was truly a joy. I took pictures of the places I visited, and, following the lead of younger people, I posted them online. To my surprise, the photos garnered an outpouring of likes, including one from Damon. He even left a comment. "Julia, have fun. Stay safe." Mutual friends chimed in, their responses filled with admiration, showering us with words of envy for our seemingly strong, enduring bond. Damon also sent me messages, asking where certain things were in the house, sharing photos of the pasta he had attempted to cook, reminding me to wear sunscreen. I didn't respond to a single one. And for the first time I felt nothing at all. No anger. No grief. Not even the ripple of a single emotion. But when I returned from my trip, I was greeted by an unexpected visitor. When Alice came looking for me, it finally hit me: something was off. Damon had told me he was leaving for another trip the following week. Yet more than a month had passed and he was still here. So, was it because he had broken his promise to Alice this year that she had come all the way to find me? She sat gracefully across from me, a soft smile on her lips. Her dress was impeccably tailored, exuding quiet elegance. Though age had touched her face, her demeanor held the refined composure that only years could bestow. Compared to her, I must have seemed like a simple old woman, plain and unadorned. People say that what you cannot attain in your youth will haunt you for a lifetime. And if that unattainable thing is a person, no wonder Damon had spent his whole life seeing her as his one true love. "Julia, is it?" she said, her smile warm, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "It's a pleasure to finally meet you." She took a delicate sip of her coffee and continued, "I'm truly sorry that you and Damon have had a falling out because of me." I didn't respond. She remained composed, unbothered, as she continued speaking in a measured, soothing tone. "Julia, you really don't have to be upset over this. Damon and I were simply fulfilling an old promise, one we made decades ago. You may not know this, but back when we were in college, Damon and I swore we would see the world together. At our class reunion in 2005, we realized we were getting old. If we didn't start traveling soon, we might never get the chance." She chuckled as if amused by her own story. "Funny, isn't it? A promise made at 20, and we only set out on our journey at 40. I smiled, mirroring her expression. "So, you traveled all this way just to sit in front of me and tell me your love story?" "Julia," she said patiently, tilting her head slightly, "marriage is marriage and love is love. I refuse to believe that after all these years, you don't understand the difference. You might not believe me, but neither Damon nor I ever wanted to hurt you." Her tone was calm, her eyes carrying the hint of a smile, but beneath that veneer of warmth, I detected something else. Something sharp, almost taunting. I stood up, placed some bills on the table to cover the coffee, and met her gaze squarely. "I don't know if marriage and love can truly be separate," I said evenly. "But I do know that you or Damon could have told me the truth from the start. It's just an old man we're talking about. If you want him, you can have him." Her smile finally faltered. I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice. "But let me just say, it must have been exhausting, spending your whole life in the shadows. From the other woman to the old other woman. You must be relieved to finally step into the light." I smiled again. "No wonder you're in such a hurry this year. Like you said, if you waited any longer, you might not make it in time." Her face drained of color. I turned and walked out of the cafe. And right there, just beyond the glass doors, stood Damon. His face was pale, his fingers twitching at his sides. He reached for me, his voice strained. "Julia, you..." I stepped back, just out of his reach, my voice steady. "Have you signed the divorce papers?" His hand fell limply to his side. He opened his mouth as if to say something, but for the first time he looked lost. "Small. Julia," he murmured as if searching for the right words. "This isn't what you think. Do we really have to go through with this? We've spent a lifetime together. We still have." "Damon," I cut him off, my voice laced with quiet disbelief. "When will you ever take responsibility?" I laughed bitterly. "At 20 you had no backbone. You didn't dare stand up to her parents, so you let her slip away. At 40, when you had everything, a career, a family, you still didn't have the courage to be honest about what you wanted. And now at 65 you're still the same. You hide behind women, clinging to both your past and your present, hoping no one forces you to choose. But life doesn't work that way." He stood frozen, a flicker of panic crossing his face, his composure unraveling. For the first time in 40 years I saw Damon for what he truly was. A man who had never been brave enough to fight for anything. Damon finally signed the divorce papers. Lucas couldn't hold back any longer. He called me, his voice seething with anger. "Mom, I just don't get what's going through your head. You're old now. Do you seriously want a divorce? You and Dad built this marriage for a lifetime and you're just throwing it away like it means nothing. And that property division, Dad has spoiled you too much. Look at the numbers yourself. Do you really think it's fair? The majority of our family's income came from Dad. What right do you have to take so much?" I stayed calm. "Lucas, you should know what marital assets mean. And if you think carefully, in the first 20 years of your life, who was the one actually holding this family together? Also, yes, I'm old. But I'm only 60. Is 60 the age where I'm supposed to just wait for death? He choked for a moment, then raised his voice, grasping for another argument. Yeah, you contributed to this family, but at most what you did was just housework. Anyone could have done it if we paid them. Why should you get such a big cut of Dad's money? I let out a sharp laugh. Lucas, why are you so heartless to me? Your father was the one who betrayed our marriage. Even if he left with nothing, that would have been his own fault. Instead of wasting time arguing with me, maybe you should think about this. When you're ever so understanding, Aunt Alice marries your father, whatever little money he has left will gain another legal heir. Mom, you're really cold-blooded. Aunt Alice is kind and considerate. She's not like you, always obsessed with money. No wonder Dad chose her over you. I didn't bother listening to his nonsense anymore. I simply hung up. Half a month later, I saw a family photo Lucas had posted on social media. Alice stood nestled against Damon, her hand holding Neil's, the five of them forming the picture of a perfect, happy family. Lucas had captioned it, "My father is the role model of my life. After half a lifetime, true love still stands by his side." The post quickly went viral, racking up countless likes. One comment shot to the top. A few years ago, I was traveling in Switzerland and happened to meet Professor Damon and his wife. Even then, I thought they were such a loving couple. What an enviable bond. More and more people chimed in, recalling how they had seen Damon and Alice together in different places over the years. Comment after comment connected the dots, piecing together the very same story I had found in that album. Before long, Damon and Alice's epic love story was trending. People called them the real life, growing old together hand in hand. Lucas sent me a message. See this? You threw this marriage away with your own hands. Now the whole world is celebrating Dad and Aunt Alice. I was speechless for a moment, then typed back. Should I post my divorce certificate too? Let's see how the public reacts when they find out this so-called legendary romance was actually a decades-long affair. Lucas never replied again. Of course, I never actually posted the divorce certificate online. For one, after 40 years of marriage, I didn't want to completely cut off Damon's retreat. For another, I was only 60. If I took care of myself, I still had many years ahead to enjoy life's pleasures. I wasn't about to waste my time on people and things that didn't deserve it. While my days were peaceful, Damon's life was anything but. After I left, Alice moved in with him. At first, everything seemed idyllic. Damon had finally reunited with his first love. Lucas found Alice to be elegant and well-mannered, and even Neil adored her, calling her grandma in his sweet little voice. But a household needs to be managed, and Alice, accustomed to a life of comfort, wasn't the kind of woman who did housework. Lucas wasted no time hiring a maid. That solved the cleaning issue, but Neil's daily school drop-offs and pickups still needed to be handled. Monica didn't trust a nanny with the responsibility, so Lucas turned to Alice, who graciously agreed, smiling as she assured them they could focus on work without worry. Lucas was deeply grateful. "Alice, you're the best. You're nothing like my mom, you're always so gentle and understanding." But after just a few days, Alice nearly lost Neil. She had taken him to the mall after school, got distracted browsing a clothing store, and in just a few minutes of inattention, Neil had vanished. Panic-stricken, she called security and the police. Thankfully, after a frantic search, he was found on another floor, unharmed. Alice, shaken and furious, scolded Neil the moment she saw him. "Didn't I tell you to wait inside the store? I was only trying on a couple of outfits. Why did you run off?" Unfortunately for her, Monica arrived just in time to witness the scene. She said nothing then, her face unreadable. But as soon as they got home, she demanded that Lucas go to me and apologize. Lucas refused at first. "Alice has never had children. She made a mistake, sure, but it was just an accident. She'll be more careful next time." But that night, Damon called Lucas, subtly hinting that Alice had been feeling unwell. Her back ached from all the running around and she was completely exhausted. Perhaps it would be best to find another solution for Neil's school runs. Monica let out a cold laugh and promptly dragged Lucas over to my place to apologize. "Mom, I was wrong before. Don't take it to heart." Lucas kept his head low, his tone unusually subdued. "I was just mad at the time and I said some things I shouldn't have. Don't be upset, okay? I didn't say anything." He forced an awkward chuckle, then let his eyes wander around my apartment, casually inspecting the place. Eventually he flopped onto my brand new massage chair. Mom, not to sound judgmental, but you've really learned how to enjoy life after the divorce. I've seen ads for this chair. It costs at least 20 grand. You sure didn't hold back. I threw his own words back at him. Well, since I took so much money from your father, wouldn't it be a waste not to spend it on the best? He rubbed his nose, looking momentarily sheepish. Mom, come on. You already got rid of your husband, are you planning to get rid of your son too? Neil is your grandson, I know you wouldn't just ignore him. Monica chimed in, her voice sincere. Julia, Lucas was out of line before and I've already scolded him. No matter what, we all know how much you've done for our family. Neil's accident really scared me. I can't trust just anyone to look after him anymore. So, could you? I signed up for piano lessons, I interrupted. I won't be available on weekdays. But if you need someone to watch Neil on weekends, you can bring him over. Lucas's eyes widened. Piano lessons? Since when? You're really going all out. I bought a piano a few days ago, I said, unbothered. It's being delivered this afternoon. He frowned, about to say something, but Monica quickly pinched his arm and smiled. Julia, it's wonderful that you're exploring new interests. I'm really happy for you. Don't worry about Neil, I'll figure something out. 2 months later I heard more news about Damon, this time from Monica when she brought Neil over. Her expression was unreadable as she casually mentioned, Alice is becoming more and more demanding. She's completely taken over the house, rearranging everything beyond recognition. And now she's pressing Damon to get married. He shot me a knowing look. Don't worry, though. I've already told Lucas to make it clear to his father that we strongly oppose the marriage. When you were around, all we had to do was focus on work. We never had to worry about anything at home. But now, we're both busy all day. We have to hire a nanny for Neil, and Lucas keeps getting roped into doing chores for Alice. She smirked and added in a hushed tone, and from what I hear, Damon hasn't agreed to marry her yet. They've been arguing a lot. Seems like the old man still has some sense left. Dating is one thing, but marriage is another matter entirely. I couldn't help but laugh and simply turned my attention back to slicing fruit for Neil. After all, everyone has their own perspective, their own interests at stake. When interests clash, decisions naturally diverge. I didn't know why Damon was hesitating to marry Alice, but it made perfect sense that Lucas and Monica were against it, especially after what happened with Neil. Alice had almost lost their child, yet instead of admitting fault, she blamed him for running off. No daughter-in-law would take that lightly. But what truly surprised me wasn't just the chaos within Damon's home. It was that Damon and Alice had made their way back into the public eye, this time trending for all the wrong reasons. And unlike before when they were showered with praise and admiration, this time, skepticism was everywhere. I never thought I'd see Damon again. Not like this, lying in a hospital bed, frail and worn, his once peppered hair now completely white. The scandal had spread like wildfire, consuming every last shred of the admiration he and Alice once enjoyed. It had all started with a single nostalgic comment from an old classmate under a news post. Professor Damon and Ms. Alice were the golden couple of our university days. It's a shame that they gave in to reality and went their separate ways. At a reunion a few years back, we all felt sorry for them. And now they're back together. That one remark sent the internet into a frenzy. Curious netizens dug deeper, questioning the timeline. Little by little, the truth surfaced. The so-called true love that lasted a lifetime wasn't a story of first love enduring through the years, but rather a decades-long affair between two married people. Some tried to defend them. First love is powerful. Even after decades apart, their hearts still yearned for each other. If this isn't true love, what is? But others saw through the romanticized illusion. So if first love is the only true love, am I the only one feeling sorry for Damon's wife? Then came the harshest truth of all. Wait, people posted years of photos of them traveling together. But according to their old classmates, even at recent reunions, they were still each married to someone else. So, this was just a decades-long affair. Gossip is human nature, and the moment that comment surfaced, the floodgates opened. Piece by piece, netizens pieced together the timeline, combining old stories, witness accounts, and the very travel records that had once been celebrated as a love story. The internet turned on them. Not the legendary Professor Damon getting exposed for a 40-year affair? And Alice? Calling this a first love is an insult to the word. This was a calculated, decades-long home-wrecking. Please don't ruin the idea of first love for the rest of us. First love can be memorable, but it shouldn't rot. And just like that, the fairy tale love story Damon and Alice had carefully curated crumbled. Lucas called me soon after. His voice was tense. Dad collapsed after a huge fight with Alice. He's in the hospital. He can't move. Mom, please. Just pity him. You were married for 40 years. Can you at least come see him? I had no intention of going. But in the end I did. Not for love, not for sympathy, just as a final courtesy to an old companion I had once walked alongside for decades. When I arrived, Damon's eyes lit up with something that almost looked like relief. Julie, you still came. That's good. I thought I would feel something standing here. Some pang of sorrow, nostalgia. Something. But all I felt was distance, as if he were a stranger I once knew in another lifetime. He reached out a trembling hand. Lucas told me you're learning the piano. If I get better, will you play for me? Hawaii was nice, wasn't it? It's a shame I couldn't be there with you. If I had the chance, I'd really love to watch the sunset with you just once. I frowned slightly, but before I could say anything he coughed violently, his body racked with weakness. Don't refuse me just yet, he said hoarsely. Let me say this. I've been holding on to these words for days. If I don't say them now, I might never get the chance. Ever since you left, I keep seeing you around the house. It's like you never really left. I know I wronged you. I have no right to ask for your forgiveness. But I keep thinking back to that day, when you asked me if I could stay. If I hadn't argued with you, if I had just woken up then and there, would we still be together today? At that, a sharp pain twisted in my chest. For a moment, I was back in that darkened room, sitting on the floor, sobbing alone in the deafening silence. But only for a moment. I shook my head, my voice steady. You wouldn't have changed, Damon. Fickleness is in your nature. If you ever truly loved me, you wouldn't have spent decades traveling with Alice. Today you say you regret it. But the truth is, your perfect, untouchable white moonlight has become nothing more than an ordinary plain bread on your dinner table. And now, because I was the one who walked away first, I suddenly seem more precious to you. That's just who you are. Always chasing what you can't have. Never treasuring what's right in front of you. His breath hitched, his lips parting slightly as if the words had physically struck him. Then he let out a long sigh, his eyes clouded with self-mockery. Yes. But Julia, we spent 40 years together. Are you saying you don't feel even a little attachment? After a lifetime together, can't we go back? I let out a soft laugh, one filled with nothing but quiet finality. Damon, can you turn back time? Can you give me back my 40 years? Why should I be attached to a marriage built on betrayal? What am I, someone so lowly that I should be grateful for whatever scraps I was given? He let out a raspy chuckle, his voice barely above a whisper. I spent my whole life healing others. But in the end I couldn't even save myself. And now I have nothing. I turned to leave. As I pushed open the hospital room door, I saw Lucas and Monica standing outside. Lucas hesitated, then finally called out, "Mom." He reached out as if to stop me, but I stepped aside. Monica pressed her lips together, her expression laced with something unreadable: pity, sorrow, regret. I didn't wait to find out. I walked past them, down the hall and out of the hospital. And as I stepped into the open air, I took a deep breath. For the first time in decades, the sky felt endless. Later, I finally learned what had caused Damon and Alice's final, explosive argument. Alice came to see me one last time. She looked just as polished and graceful as before, her outfit impeccably put together. But this time, the light in her eyes was gone, replaced by a thick layer of clouded despair. She pushed a cup of coffee toward me, her hands trembling slightly. "You won, Julia." Her lips curved into a bitter smile, but her complexion was ghastly pale. "Last time I told you that you had Damon's marriage, but I had his love. Now I see how naive I was. Julia, I lost. I'm leaving." I watched her in silence, picked up my coffee and took small, deliberate sips. She exhaled shakily, then continued speaking as if the words had been bottled up for too long. "Do you know why Damon and I fought? The entire internet is tearing me apart, calling me shameless, saying I spent my whole life as the other woman, an old fool who never learned self-respect. I begged him. I told him I wouldn't push him to marry me anymore. I only asked for one thing, for him to post a statement online saying that you two had actually divorced 25 years ago. Just a single sentence. Why? That's all it would have taken to clear my name. But he refused. He would rather let himself be ruined. He would rather watch me get dragged through the mud than tell the world that your marriage had ended decades ago. I almost laughed. I wanted to tell her the truth. She had been a mistress all her life. She deserved the insults. But the words caught in my throat and I swallowed them back down. Instead I said quietly, "There's no winning or losing here. If you think about it, you only lost your love. I lost my entire life." Alice left. Damon didn't die after the accident. But his body grew weaker after all these chaos and his memory deteriorated rapidly. The doctors diagnosed him with Alzheimer's. He had spent his life building an impeccable career in medicine, and now in his twilight years, waves of students came to visit him, and teams of distinguished doctors took turns examining him. But none of it mattered. He could no longer recognize people. He could no longer remember. Meanwhile, I threw myself into my piano lessons. My teacher praised me, saying I was learning with remarkable dedication. I could now play an entire piece from start to finish. When I posted a video online, it unexpectedly went viral. I also started traveling, alone. And yet, standing before the great wonders of the world, I still felt my heart swell with excitement. I boarded a plane to France to see the Eiffel Tower. As I landed, a message from my son arrived. A video. In it, Damon sat in a wheelchair wearing thick glasses, staring intently at the phone screen. It was my piano video, Mariage d'amour. Even with his fading memory, he watched it over and over again. And in between, his tears fell, rolling down his weathered cheeks like a child's. I felt neither sadness nor joy. The scene felt distant, as if from another lifetime. Before me stretched a vast and beautiful world, while the man who had been entangled with me for 40 years now seemed nothing more than a dream, long past, long gone. A young woman nearby smiled at me and greeted me warmly, "Bonjour, madame." I smiled back. I was only 60. And even at 60 I could still begin anew.